So now we have joined the wing panels, the glue has cured, and we are back to install the electronics. The first thing we are going to do is install the servos, and to install the servos we are going to create cutouts approximately 34 centimeters from the root. So at 34 centimeters we will create a cutout for the servo. And we have already installed, if you have got the electronics package, you will get the servo extensions along with the package, and we have installed the servo extensions here. And 34. So now we have joined the wing panels, and for our Speedster, and the glue would have cured by now, and our next step would be to install the electronics, the servos on our VT Speedster. So what we are going to do here today is that we shall create cutouts for the servo approximately 34 centimeters out from the center part, and the servo will be installed here, and the servo wire will be routed just below the Speedster logo with a straight line. And what we shall do is we shall make the control linkages by putting hot gluing two clevises at the ends of the control linkage, and the control horn will be installed here perpendicular to the hinge line, and the control rod will be cut short to the right length so that the elevons are in perfectly neutral position while the servo is centered. So let's create the cutout for the servo, cutout for the servo wire, and install the control horn, control rod for one side of our VT Speedster wing. So again, the servo cutout will be at 34 centimeters from the center joint. Straight line, 34 centimeters in a straight line always from and this will be the center, so install this as center. Okay. So our servo cutout is now nearly ready, and we'll use a straight edge to create a cutout for the servo wire. And we shall take this till the center position. Clean the knife. Okay. Give me one more pass. Okay. So we shall increase the depth of the wire cut. The knife, and then now let's install the control linkage. And before we hot glue we'll increase the size of the cutout a little bit. You want the cutout to be pretty tight, but not so tight the servo will not go in. And be sure to keep your wings over the wing beds. I cannot re-emphasize this enough, but you have to keep your wings over the wing beds. This really avoids warping the wing in any way, and also is very safe and reduces the hanger rash. So our servo is now in. I shall install this servo wire while I'll let Pawan install the control horn on this side, and so we can speed up with the build. Install the control horn perpendicular to the hinge line, neutral the servo, and so first put this and install the servo horn, control horn. The depth of the cut. Okay. Okay. Focus. The control it's okay. So in a flying wing, the neutral position of the elevons is slightly up. So we are going to hot glue the servo in place first. That is it. छूट नहीं जाए, दूसरा कट कर लो। So what we will do is that install in place. It is slightly okay. Glue. So what we are doing is that we are creating a slight offset here, so that when the servo will be centered, okay, or we can center the servo and adjust this so that this is very slightly up. So the aileron end is raised about 1 centimeter here, while the servo is centered. So this completes the installation of the servo here, and we shall now go back and install the other servo. And before that, we shall put the back plate of the control horn. The back plate will just lock in very slightly to the protruding control horn, or this may not be even necessary. The control horn, if it is not glued well enough, is usually never going to give way. So let's go ahead and install the other servo, and then we shall be back in a few minutes. So the servos have been mounted, and the next step we are going to do is assemble the motor mount. The motor mount shall be assembled by gluing the parts. Are fitting very tight, but that is how they are supposed to be. Okay, and so there are two parts here. This part has two notches, so this goes on top here. So do not use any glue to get this going. Once everything has fit in, then we will just wick a few drops of CA through the seams to get this all locked in. Just a few drops is all that is necessary. नहीं है क्या? नहीं है क्या बॉटल? हाँ? हाँ. Just a few drops of CA is enough to glue this. So we have the motor mount here assembled, and now we will install this on our Speedster, and exactly in the center position, gently, so the motor mount has two notches here. They cut this, they cut the foam and go inside. So very carefully, and keeping the mount centered, this will go in very tightly. Be sure this is centered, and the locks will bite into the foam and lock in place. So how do we fix this? We'll mix some epoxy and glue this in place. And before we glue this, what we will do is we'll cut the lamination at this point where the motor mount touches the foam, so that the motor mount actually glues in with the foam and does not just glue on the surface of the lamination film. We take Now that we have installed the motor mount, the battery strap, and we have prepared the motor and the ESC bullet connectors and the XT60 connectors. Everything has been prepared. Now the next step is to install the motor, but before that we are going to cut out hatches here for the ESC and the radio receiver. So we'll quickly cut out hatches and install the ESC receiver on each side of the sensor joint. So we will cut out accurately by measuring and outlining the cuts. So the idea is that we will cut out one hatch here and one hatch here for the receiver. So we have drawn the sides and we'll cut out with the knife, and let's get back after we cut out these two hatches and then we'll continue. So the two hatches have been cut out here, one for the ESC, and the receiver hatch has been cut out slightly ahead. So now we will make some small cuts here to route the wires and hot glue everything in place. Install the motor now using the supplied 4 screws, and keep it so that the motor wires go over the top. I'll hold this in place. The motor mount is pre-drilled with the right size holes. So all you need to do is, and the supplied screws go right through beneath the flat edge, and you can also do this, that before you put the screws, put a drop of CA over each hole, so that will strengthen the motor mount in that whole area, and only screw in after the glue has fully dried off. So while the motor is being screwed, I'll tell you about how to install the propeller. The propeller has to be installed so that the marking on this side, the propeller has marking on one side is flat. So the marking side has to go in towards the front. Whether it is a pusher propeller or a puller propeller, whatever, the marking will always go towards the front. So we will install the prop in this way because the marking is right here. So let the motor be glued, the motor be screwed in, and then we shall install the prop. and we'll use a drop of hot glue to glue the ESC here and the receiver here. So let's actually do these things, and we'll continue with the video.